Good day, good day, good day. It's been a while, and I am going to say something that I've been punished for disclosing in the past, punished badly, and basically I want to talk a little bit about abuse. If you are a disabled adult, it's no different than an abusive parent abusing a minor child. This abuse can still go on way into adulthood. And it's terrible because many times as disabled adults, we have to rely on our parents for care, for financial needs. It's tough. It's tough, especially if you have a disability that affects you cognitively. That puts you even more at risk, because then as a victim, you're not able to communicate the abuse. For example, people who are so far along the spectrum that they're nonverbal, or if they've had some sort of disabling injury that causes them to be nonverbal. For example, I have a master's degree, and for my education, I had to do 2 internships. And my first year internship was at a daycare center for disabled adults. Most of them, if not all of them, were cognitively, mentally disabled. And one of my clients was this individual who was nonverbal, but was able to communicate via a communication device that they had on kind of like a wristwatch, and they could type in whatever they wanted to communicate. And it took a lot of patience. But one day, this client told me that their caregiver was being abusive, and in a really horrible way. I'm not going to go into details, but it was bad. It was bad enough that I went and told my supervisor about it, and she told me that I had to call Adult Protective Services, so I did. And to my shock and horror, this client's mother said, well, I like this caregiver, so I'm going to keep her on. And I was just like, you're kidding me. Basically, this abused person who's nonverbal, their mother was saying, I don't care if this person abused my child. I like them and I think they're doing a good job, so I'm going to keep them around my child. Keep them around your child for what? So they can be so they can have further abuse inflicted upon them? It's crazy. Excuse me, dry mouth. I gotta get something to drink. But yeah, so if you're disabled and verbal, and you're cognitively sound, mentally sound. I found out that it really doesn't matter if you report it. There's far less social workers that work for Adult Protective Services than there are that work for Child Protective Services. So if my client would have been a child, more than likely my client would have been taken into foster care. But I have, I'll just go out. I am coming out today. Just kidding. My mother falls into the narcissistic category. And actually, I've been so trained throughout all my life not to say anything about the abuse because it was going to have really dire consequences. But you know what? I don't care anymore. My mother falls into the narcissistic category, and actually when I was looking through the DSM, which is basically like the catalog of mental disorders, and I went under antisocial personality disorder, which is commonly known as a psychopath. I went through each criteria, and it was like, yes, 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 no, yes, 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 no, yes, yes. She had and continues to have all of the criteria except 2. And nobody does anything. I've called Adult Protective Services. The last time I did, the social worker informed me that she had called my mother multiple times and left about a half dozen messages, but my mother never responded, and therefore my case was closed because the abuser didn't contact the social worker. And then I most recently tried to get a restraining order on her, and the commissioner who tried the case just kept cutting me off. I think she was a narcissist too. She just kept cutting me off, and I really wasn't able to put a full sentence together because she kept cutting me off. And in fact, she was kind of validating some of the abuse that my mother has inflicted upon me. And it's up to me, unfortunately, to take care of myself and watch my back, because nobody's going to do it. But the wonderful part about being disabled is you've got a lot of time, lots of time. And I've used my time to do a lot of research. And don't think I'm weak. Don't think that I am not capable of handling myself, because I am. It's just a little bit harder because I'm an army of one, and I've got to take on this incredibly just beyond horrible person who happens to be the woman that gave birth to me. I really don't like to call her my mother because she's not deserving of it. What does a mother do? I mean, think about it. Would you call somebody mom for abusing you for over 30 years? Well, some abused people get so they perpetuate the cycle, so they internalize the abuse and they believe everything that the abuser is telling them, unfortunately. The first time that I reached out to somebody about my mother's abuse was to my grandmother. Well, my grandmother is deceased, but maybe about 12, 13 years ago, I wrote her a letter. She lived in another country, and fortunately, I'm fluent in that language. So I wrote her a letter, and I basically told her, you're the only one that my mother listens to. Can you talk to her? Because I've really tried to do everything that I can to mend the relationship and make it functional and make it healthy. Well, what my grandmother did, check this out, is she sent the letter to my mother. And my mother comes to my house in a rage. She showed up unannounced. I had no idea the reason for her visit. So I opened the door a crack and she pushes the door the rest of the way open. And she's got the letter in her hand and a fist in the other hand. She's waving the letter, screaming, "What is this? What is this? What is the meaning of this?" And she's got her fist in the air and she's chasing me through every room of the house. And fortunately, I was cornered in my bathroom, but somehow I think I ducked under her arm and I grabbed my keys. I didn't have time to grab my purse, which had my driver's license in it, so I could get my car. And I walked to my boyfriend at the time. I walked to his house, and he lived in another city, and I have ME, and so I'm trying to go through this exhaustion just to get away from my mother and her fist in the air chasing me around the house. And so ever since, I kind of learned you need to shut up. Don't say anything to anybody. Because a rain of fury is going to come upon your head. And she keeps getting worse. As I've done my research about narcissists or psychopaths or sociopaths, they tend to get worse with age, not better. And she's almost 80, and she has gotten downright dangerous where I fear for my life. Because one day, well, for a few days, I thought I could trust her to help me clean up stuff as I was beginning to go through a divorce. Well, what she did instead was she starts throwing away things. And I was taking a nap, And she walked into my room, woke me up, and said, I threw away that big pile of clothes that you had in the other room. I said, why? And she said, because you don't need them. Maybe it may have been a pile of clothes to her. And yes, like I said, I was trying to reorganize my life in the beginning stages of a divorce. And in that pile of clothes, I had a sweatshirt from where I got my bachelor's degree, a sweatshirt where I got my master's degree, a couple of concert t-shirts where, you know, you can only get these shirts at the concert venue when you go see the person. So those things happen to be in the pile, and they are, I mean, I got my bachelor's like almost 30 years ago. And I kept that sweatshirt in very good condition over all the years. And I can never get it back. And my mother absolutely has no remorse. No remorse. In fact, on the court date for the restraining order, she took advantage. Every time the bailiff went inside the courtroom, my mother would go up to the roster of cases outside the courtroom, and she just kept saying, "Oh, I can't believe this. This is ridiculous. I didn't do anything to deserve this." And at the time, I had my face down, looking at my phone, reading, but I heard what she was doing. She was trying to provoke me. She was trying to provoke me to get everyone to see, like, look, see, it's not, I don't have the problem. She has the problem. But I stayed calm. I just kept looking down at my phone, didn't look up. So, you know, like I said, Adult Protective Services doesn't do anything. Part of the abuse that I've endured is financial abuse. My mother has withheld a lot of money that she owes me and won't give it up. My house is in urgent need of repairs, but no, she won't lift a finger to help me. She, interestingly enough, she would go to the foreign country where, you know, our family lives, and she would give money to the foreign family members. And one of my cousins apparently had a long-standing relationship with a married man, and she got some of the money, which she always used to buy lingerie for her married lover. And I'm going, okay, you're going to give money to somebody who's, you know, getting it on with a married man, but she won't give any money to help me. Yeah, so that's my secret that I've been hiding. I don't tell too many people about it because usually people don't believe me. But it is something that has to be seen to be believed. And she won't inflict her abuse if there's any eye or ear around that will catch wind of what she's doing. She always does it in letters, because I've blocked her email, I've blocked her phone number on my phone, but she sends letters. I hope somebody can, like, please somebody, like, watch my video and tell me, what's your opinion? One thing about the letters is it says the same thing every single time. I mean, I've got about a half dozen letters and they say the same thing. And I'm wondering if it's dementia, but I'm not a doctor. I don't know. And I'm not around her on a daily basis to observe her behaviors, to get a better clue as to whether she is in the beginning stages of dementia or not. So anyway, I've talked your ear off for far too long. It kind of feels good to get it off my chest, even though nobody will probably read it and watch this. But it just feels good to get it out there. So if you're in my shoes, get it out there. Get into therapy. Therapy is the best thing that you can do for yourself. It's the best gift that you can give yourself. If you've been under any kind of abusive, toxic, dysfunctional relationship, therapy, I'm telling you, it works. So for now, au revoir, and have a wonderful day, afternoon, evening. Take care. Take care of yourselves, and don't let anybody abuse you. You're far too good for that. You're far too valuable. Even if you're disabled, you are just as precious of a human being as if you were perfectly healthy. And never, ever forget that. Bye, guys.